Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class, closing out the Sabbath, the 3rd of March 2025. We'll be reading out of Jubilee chapter 11 and breaking it down, piggybacking off of this morning. We read chapter 10. You go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can look at, examine. These videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. This is a non-Messianic channel for those that don't know. We deal with the Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which consist of our laws and our statutes and our judgments that was given to Moses by our Savior and our Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. Okay, this channel was set up and designed to aid and assist Hebrew Israelites who are waking up in these last days to their true identity. Okay, help lead them in the right direction. Okay, shalom and welcome to the channel, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer. We'll read the Psalms. We have some current events, need to know information. We'll open it up for anybody with any comments, questions, or any dialogue. Then we're going to go into our discussion, which is Jubilee chapter 11, and its breakdown. Then we'll pick a scripture like we normally do and break that scripture down. Then we'll close out. Okay, close the Sabbath out. This moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. O Lord, righteousness and uprightness belongeth unto thee. Therefore we come before thee at this hour, seeking our face and looking for righteousness and uprightness, that we may walk before thee as your servants David and Solomon and Samuel and Hezekiah did. For we desire to walk after thee, O Lord, keep your commandments, testimony, and statutes with all our heart and soul, and to perform the words of the covenant that was written down by your prophets. Hide not thy face from us anymore, any longer, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. We'll read the Psalms. Okay. Okay, I'll read Psalms 48. It says, great is the Lord, and greatly to be praised in the city of our God, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situations, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. God is known in her palaces for refuge, for lo, the kings were assembled. They passed by together. They saw it, and so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. Fear took hold upon them there, and pain as a woman in travail. Thou breakest the ships of Tarsus with an east wind. As we have heard, so have we seen in the city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God. God will establish it forever. Selah, we have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of the temple, thy temple. According to thy name, O God, so is thy praise unto the ends of the earth. Thy right hand is full of righteousness. Let Mount Zion rejoice. Let the daughters of Zion of Judah be glad because of thy judgments. Walk about Zion and go round about her. Tell the towers thereof. Mark ye well her bulwarks. Consider her palaces, that ye may tell it to the great generation following. For this God is our God forever and ever, and he will be our guide, even unto death. Okay, so that was Psalm 48. It's God is our God, right? And like this song was saying, and I keep saying over and over again, that our forefathers was actually interacting with the Lord of hosts in the temple. When you understand that it's his temple, Yahweh have his own temple in heaven. So it says in verse 3, God is known in her palaces for a refuge. So it says he's known. They known to see him there. They known to deal with him. Verse 4, for lo, the kings were assembled and they passed together. They saw it. And so they marveled. They were troubled and hasted away. For fear took hold upon them there, and pain as a woman travail. Then it says, thou breakest the ships of Tarsus with an east wind, as we have heard, so have we seen. This is the part I want to touch on light on. It says, as we have heard, so have we seen the city of the Lord of hosts. So that city of the Lord of hosts, in the city of our God, God will establish it forever. Or we had thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. So that we have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. So, like I said, I broke that word midst down because a lot of people don't rightly divide it. But it says that it's the two trees in the garden, and they in the midst of the garden. So they're there, but you can't see them. So they're supernatural beings, angelic beings. So tree of knowledge of good and evil that's in the midst of the garden is Samuel, Lucifer. And the tree of life that's in the midst of the garden is Michael. And he's telling you right here in the temple, Michael, verse 9, we have thought of thy loving kindness, O God, in the midst of thy temple. So he right there in the temple. Show himself when you want to. Like I said before, certain people that see him, that he's dealing with, like with Moses. Certain people see him, and a lot of them don't. Mainly the Levites and the priests and all them, he's showing himself to them. Okay. Anybody got any questions, comments on that?
Shalom, everyone. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Verse 10 says, according to your name, O God, so is your praises to the ends of the earth. Your right hand is full of righteousness. It's that's just like saying today your wealth cannot buy the God's precious gift of life because He's the only one going to give us life. And as we're speaking from ends of the earth, God is the only one who's going to be, the Lord of hosts is the only one that's going to be the one who saves us, not the wealth that one occurs while they're here on this earth. Does that
Yeah,
make
you could
sense?
say that the right hand is what he do with his right hand all through scripture. Judge, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's what he's talking about. The reason why it's saying is in his right hand is righteousness because of when he judge, it brings forth righteousness because it's judging the wickedness and the sin that's on the earth, which is why the creator, one of his main roles, the creator got him doing what he's doing to bring forth judgment. He came to Sodom and Gomorrah and judged it. He judged the earth with the flood. Okay. Anybody else got anything? Okay. So with that being said, we'll go to our current events.
Welcome to Africa Diaspora News Channel. My name is Lillian Akotono making this report. It was reported that Russia and China troops were sent down to Burkina Faso to help fight against the jihadists and terrorists in Burkina Faso. This comes after Burkina Faso was attacked a few weeks ago. Northern town in Burkina Faso, Djibo, was attacked by the jihadists, and it did not stop there. They threatened to advance to Ouagadougou, that's the capital of Burkina Faso, in the nearest future. And in order to fight against this terrorist, troops have been sent down to empower Burkina Faso's military to fight against this terrorist. Now, prior to this time, France military troops were actually involved in fighting against the jihadists and terrorists. But despite them fighting against these jihadists and terrorists, it was discovered that the threat kept increasing, the war kept increasing, lives were continually being lost. And we know why. France does not have the interest of Burkina Faso at heart. Guess what? They were there, but they were actually propelling war. They were actually in favor of the war against Burkina Faso in order to silently, behind the Burkina Faso government, lay their hands on the resources of Burkina Faso. But ever since Captain Ibrahim Traore took over, he strengthened ties with the Russia and China governments. Russia has been instrumental in supplying equipment, military equipment, guns, war equipment to Burkina Faso military. And that's not all. They also supplied military troops to Burkina Faso to help fight against these terrorists. A very good one, I must say. I'm happy that they are interested in the good of Burkina Faso. President Vladimir Putin came out to challenge the Westerners. He said that anyone who harms or comes after Captain Ibrahim Traore, as reported, is also going after him and his troops. So we have Russia and China troops currently in Burkina Faso to help fight against terrorists and threats, especially in a time like this when everyone is on their toe, when the tension is heightened. I love it. And it was reported that these guys, that's the terrorists, said that they have till June to eliminate Captain Ibrahim Traore, and that is why we have the Russia and China troops down in Burkina Faso to strengthen the military of Burkina Faso and keep everything in check, especially make sure that Captain Ibrahim Traore is safe.
Okay, any comments on that? Okay.
Shalom.
Yeah.
As Russia is helping out, is they're still in the war with Ukraine or is over with? So they are separating their troops. They're still fighting with Ukraine right now.
It's still going on.
And so they have enough troops to fight, to send to Burkina
When your
Faso
kid is hurting.
and stay in war with Ukraine. So they had where Russia was not as big as a military force, but it looks like they do. They have a really big military force to send other troops to Burkina Faso. Because when he first started with Ukraine, they were saying they didn't have enough. They were sending their unprofessional, they was just sending one of their men's out to fight. They were not really prepared. But now they must have been holding back their other troops for this situation. Just remember reading anything about that. I've seen it when it first started, like 2 years ago when it was talking about it.
Okay. Yeah, they sending special forces now, elite soldiers to help both Russia and China. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Okay. Here we go.
Warning that the supply chain disruptions heading our way could be more severe than anything we experienced during the recent pandemic. Anyone who thinks we can easily substitute $438 billion worth of Chinese imports is simply kidding themselves. Thousands of products manufactured in China simply don't have alternative sources. Sure, we'll try to minimize the damage, but our options are limited. I recently spoke with a business owner who's already receiving numerous price increase notifications from suppliers. Apparently, hundreds of Amazon products have already seen substantial price hikes. They're raising prices on everything from diaper bags and refrigerator magnets to charm necklaces and other best-selling items as they face higher import costs. E-commerce software company Smart Scout has tracked 930 Amazon products with increased prices since April the 9th showing an average jump of 29% across categories, including clothing, jewelry, household items, office supplies, electronics, and toys. Even major wholesalers are dealing with unexpected inventory shortages, forcing many to hunt for alternative supplies in countries like Vietnam, India, and Mexico, though these markets can't immediately match China's capacity or productivity. This shift is neither seamless nor affordable, will likely cause prolonged supply disruptions for many everyday items. In numerous other instances, Chinese manufactured products will completely disappear from American shelves. In fact, President Trump himself acknowledges that most Chinese businesses won't do any business here while tariff rates remain this elevated. Nobody can challenge President Trump's assessment on this point, and the figures we're already witnessing are truly alarming. For instance, reports show that the volume of Chinese shipments scheduled to arrive at the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach between May 4th and May 10th has plummeted 43% compared to last year. And that's according to container tracking software provider Vision. Unfortunately, this is merely the beginning. Container bookings for shipments from China to the United States plunged by a staggering 64% during April's first week compared to the previous week. Analysts attribute this collapse to importers canceling shipments to reassess costs, timelines, and broader trade strategy. This is resulting in half empty container ships, pushing more shipping companies to cancel voyages to reduce losses and prevent fees from plummeting. The spot cost of shipping a 40-foot container has already dropped from $5,729 at the year's start to $2,793, and that's according to Zenetta, a shipping data platform. Meanwhile, canceled sailings are multiplying rapidly. Since early April, the number of canceled voyages between Asia and America's East Coast has doubled to over 40%, according to Sea Intelligence data. When examining the data, it's abundantly clear that the trade war's impact has caused many shippers to pause or completely cancel shipments, company analysts stated Thursday. Furthermore, warehouse inventories across key U.S. distribution centers are showing notable declines, particularly in sectors like home improvement supplies, budget electronics, and seasonal merchandise such as summer clothing. Retailers now caution that without timely restocking, many promotional sales and discounts might be scrapped altogether. Picture a truck racing along at 70 miles per hour when somebody slams the brakes to the floor. That's essentially what we're facing. Freightwave CEO Craig Fuller warns that trucking activity from the LA area could drop 50%, likely triggering massive layoffs throughout the West Coast trucking industry. Year over year, trucking activity from Los Angeles has fallen by 23%, reduced to manage the trade environment.
Get analytics that give you
certainty. At the end of the day, we're heading into a full-blown disaster. Even if the United States and China reached a trade deal tomorrow, which definitely won't happen, it would still require considerable time before all the supply chains normalize. You have an 8-week period where volumes are going to crash before they can even recover. And that's assuming things return to normal, said Dean Krogh, principal analyst at DA Freight and Analytics. All this happens during a time of the year when volumes should be increasing. Moreover, small businesses, particularly those depending on imported goods for resale, face higher bankruptcy risks if these disruptions persist. Many lack the financial to absorb sudden supply shocks. Widespread closures could ripple through local economies, worsening unemployment and economic instability.
Okay, any comments on that?
Shalom. Yes, sir. Being that he was saying all that about China in the U.S., what about China's investors that they owe like, I mean, they own like 383,940 acres of land here in the U.S. That's a lot of land to own, from China, and they own a lot of factories here also. So are they doing themselves an injustice too, or are they just waiting for the end time to happen where their factories that they have here and their container um, um, warehouses that they have here in the United States? I'm just thinking what's going to happen with that, because I know they're saying they're stopping bringing goods over here, but they have stored goods in their warehouses and have factories here, and then they have a lot of farmland. Now that's farmland. That's just not owning property. All that farmland that they have here.
So
It's
so that
it's a
should
pickle.
a alarm bell should go off. If somebody got a bunch of their clothes and their shoes and stuff in your house, they got to have some kind of deal with you to have your clothes, to have their clothes in your house, right?
Yes, sir.
So same with that. How did they manage to get all that farmland? They have to
What,
they have to have some kind of they got to
sir?
be working together. How can they get that much farmland in supposedly their enemy's land?
Yes, sir. And that was something else too, because when he was in office the first time, his son-in-law's sister, they had blew the whistle on her by her selling a lot of the U.S. land here to the Chinese, so they could come over, and once they own their own property, they can receive citizenship. And that was something big when Trump was in office the first time.
Right,
So
right.
there is some deals with them, because at
Right,
one
right.
point he thought he was really tight with China. So now he's not.
Like you got to go all the way back to the Table of Nations, and I'm gonna play. I got a video and play on that, but it's talking about knowing who's who in the scriptures. We got people that we think they one group of people, but they're somebody else. So when you understand who's who, when it comes to these names of these people and how their names have changed, and they hide and they got a facade going, but when you really understand the breakdown of these nations, then they can no longer hide. So that's how that works. Okay, so I'm gonna pray this. This is some need to know information. Okay.
Kinshasa, Johannesburg, and even Washington, D.C. In Ethiopia, a surprise announcement and roared in Jamaica, not in the forests, but through the speakers of ghettos, stages, and radios across the world. His name was Bob Marley, a mystic messenger wrapped in dreadlocks, a voice that rose from the oppression of Babylon and thundered with a message. Africa unite. For years, people danced to his rhythm, sang along to his choruses, and quoted his wisdom, but few truly listened. Bob didn't just sing for entertainment. He prophesied in Zimbabwe, war and Africa unite. He cried out about a coming age, a moment when the scattered sons and daughters of Africa, whether in Kingston or Kinshasa, in Paris or Pretoria, would rise as one voice, one power. He said that the chains of mental slavery had to be broken. Africa, long divided by borders and ideologies planted by colonizers, would one day reclaim her crown. And now in 2025, that prophecy had come to pass, decades after Marley's voice was silenced by death, but immortalized in spirit. A young captain rose from the heart of West Africa, from the red soil of Burkina Faso. His name was Ibrahim Traore. He didn't come with corporate suits or polished diplomacy. He came with fire. He spoke like Sankara, moved like Nkrumah, and stood like a baobab in a storm. He rejected Western dictates, demanded sovereignty, and said that Africa's resources should benefit Africans first. And because of that, enemies swarmed. One day, news spread that a global coalition, led by powerful Western intelligence networks and assisted by puppet African regimes, was preparing to remove Traore, either through propaganda, sabotage, or worse. But something extraordinary happened. From the moment this threat surfaced, something ancient stirred across the world. Africans of all origins, be they from Harlem or Harare, Lagos or London, began to rise. In Jamaica, Rastas gathered at the Nyabingi grounds. Beating their drums under the moonlight, they chanted, "Rise up, sons of Zion, the prophecy is now." In Ghana, thousands marched wearing shirts bearing Bob Marley and Ibrahim Traore's faces. Their slogans were simple: Africa must defend her lion. In Brazil's favelas, youth painted murals of Traore holding a golden map of Africa, with the words, "We are not divided, we are one blood." In Paris, the African diaspora blocked metro lines in protest, chanting Bob Marley's lyrics, "How good and how pleasant it would be before God and man to see the unification of all Africans." Reggae was treated as a low. We still gives you. The philosophy was demonized. The aim was clear: to disconnect young Africans from the truth that reggae carried. But it failed, because truth can't be killed. It can only be delayed. Fast forward to the global uprising in support of Captain Ibrahim Traore, and something divine happened. From Accra to Atlanta, from Port of Spain to Port Harcourt, the steel pan met the reggae baseline. Musicians began blending the old with the new, fusing the heartbeat of Africa with the innovation of the Caribbean diaspora. Rastas in Trinidad stood beside Burkinabe drummers. Panmen played alongside Kora masters. And in the shadow of resistance, a new genre was born: redemption sound, a musical movement that united the band drums of the past with the liberated rhythms of now. At the Liberation Square in Ouagadougou, an international concert was held in honor of Marley's prophecy and Traore's defiance. Steel pens rang out like war bells, reggae guitars wept for Africa's wounds, and griots sang of a future no longer stolen. A mural was unveiled that night, Bob Marley holding a drum in one hand and a steel pen in the other, with the words, "They banned the drum, so we forged new instruments." But the rhythm never stopped. After the global show of unity for Captain Ibrahim Traore, the rhythm doesn't die out, it intensifies. In cities across Africa and the Caribbean, the new musical revolution known as redemption sound is doing something the colonizers long feared. It awakens the political spirit in the youth. Where once there is apathy, now there is energy. Where silence once reigned, lyrics now rise, questioning injustice, exposing corruption, and calling out foreign interference. Reggae artists in St. Lucia collaborate with griots from Mali. Steelpan players in Trinidad perform songs, quoting Sankara and Kwame Nkrumah. Young beatmakers in Lagos sample Bob Marley's speeches into Afrobeats. It's not just a fusion of sound, it's a fusion of ideology. And now, music crosses into mobilization. In Barbados, students march to parliament with placards reading, "Africa is our mirror, stand with Burkina Faso." In Jamaica, a group of Pan-African youth forms the Marcus Garvey Redemption Council, demanding educational reform to teach Africa's real history, not the sanitized colonial version by institutions. But in 2025, his words, "Africa Unite, get up, stand up," were treated as doctrine, especially by a new generation of African youth who saw Marley not as an entertainer, but as a seer. Redemption Day was celebrated on April 30th, 2025 globally. In Jamaica, thousands gathered at the Bob Marley Museum in Kingston. Youth recited Marley's lyrics alongside passages from Marcus Garvey.
Okay, any comments on that? I'm dying to hear that beat they talking about, that new religion, the new rhythm they talking about. I'm dying to see that. Try to search it out when I get off of this class. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay, I see right here the brother says that the guy, I guess Ibrahim Tory, is Islam. Other people think he's good for the so-called black community. Well, that's what we're screaming over here. Same thing, that it's a ploy. It's a ploy to get the, it's another ploy, like they're using him the same way they use Obama, same way they use King. You know, this that last ditch effort. Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything they came across, they heard this morning or during the week? They want to talk about it?
No, sir, not at this time.
Anybody else? Okay, yeah. Let me play this right here, and then we'll start reading out of the Book of Jubilees, chapter 11, and we'll break it down. Okay. Okay.
If you don't want to Seattle, and my view is of the waterfront, and this is the last cargo ship coming in for a long, long, long time. Ugh.
Have you guys seen the ports? If you haven't seen the ports, go ahead and look in your search bar for Los Angeles ports or Seattle ports, because it is being reported they're an absolute ghost town. And the last ships are coming in at the end of this month. And on the East Coast, it's not getting any better. The last ship coming in from China is targeted for May 10th. And if you look at ports in China, the largest port in China, it is an active, busy hub. So it shows you it's not something that's sweeping the globe here. This is not COVID. This is more directed. This direct effect of Donald Trump and his tariffs. And I'm not going to come in here and fearmonger and say we're not going to have anything, but you better believe if ships are not docking and they are not taking goods off those ships and they are shipping empty, 40+% of ships are shipping like empty or close to empty. What do you think that's going to happen? The only logical conclusion is there are going to be less goods on the shelves. And it's not going to be, your toys and electronics and things that you can get by without during a recession. It's going to be food, vegetables, fruits, grains, all sorts of things like that we import. We import a lot of beef and pork and things like that. Even though we have it here, we import a lot of food as well. A lot of other meats from other countries. And you're going to see a drastic change in the next coming month. In the grocery store, in the retail shop, Walmart CEOs, Target, Home Depot, those CEOs sat down with Trump and said, look, the shelves are going to be barren. We are going to be in a huge issue. And even if he stops the tariffs today and says, oh boy, it was a huge mistake, that doesn't just turn around. So I myself am going to be going to Costco and buying some of those staples, making sure I have a big ass bag of rice, some beans, toilet paper, whatever. I'm not saying panic shop, don't panic shop, but just make sure maybe you buy an extra of what you normally buy. Get yourself a little bit of extra shelf stable foods so that you make sure you have something, because these ports, they're empty. That's not hyperbole. That's not fear mongering. That's just the truth. And two, you're not going to have those things on the shelf. We're not getting them in from these countries. When the ports are empty, the shelves will be empty. And this is all thanks to one and his stubborn ignorance, just absolute nonsense, and having no understanding of how anything works in this world. We saw it the first time around, and we knew it was going to be worse the next time. So here we go. Welcome to Trump's world.
Good, we actually used to have it. The ports are empty. Food isn't coming in. Goods are not coming in. Everyone who works in the shipping industry is saying we are about to face a crisis much bigger than the empty shelves during COVID. We have felt entitled in this country to freedom, to democracy, to human rights, to unlimited food and crap to buy. We got lazy and we did nothing to maintain those freedoms and those rights. We assumed that other people would do it. We stopped valuing our own education. We stopped reading. We stopped being kind to other people. We got completely hell-bent on having more stuff, on having more money, on having more whatever, having more fucking Botox in our faces. a false ladder that we were taught to climb. And I don't know if this current iteration of Americans has it in them to survive the Great Depression, part two. But I don't know if we're going to have a
Seattle shipping port is empty. So is LA. It looks like that's the three main shipping ports on the West Coast. They are no longer getting international shipments. The last one is scheduled for tomorrow. This is going to have huge implications for our economy really quickly, and also long term. We are probably going to face one of the biggest economic recessions we've seen in probably over a century. This is going to be really bad, especially with all of the migrant labor that we rely on now being gone. If farms can't harvest, if people can't ship things in and out, if truck drivers can't pick up deliveries, our entire system crashes. We are going to see food shortages, empty shelves, job losses, and even higher inflation with all these tariffs. It's going to be pretty crazy. In like 3 to 6 months, we're really going to start feeling this really hard as the harvest isn't being harvested, as retail stores aren't having any inventory and go out of business. This is going to affect mostly middle class, lower class Americans. Rents are going to go up even more. Mortgages are going to go up. It's going to get harder to get loans. And we are going to see huge layoffs. It's time to start channeling your grandma who survived the Great Depression. Start your garden. Start learning canning. Buy a bidet. Switch from paper to cloth products. Shop locally. This is probably going to be a lot worse than what.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom. I think that the recession is getting closer and closer, the way things are, and by them saying about they're now, he says not, don't panic, but who cannot? It's doing your gardening now. Some fruits and vegetables, or some vegetables, are not time to be start planting, and depending on what climate you're in, what area you're in, what kind you plant. And then is they going to put a regulation on planting, having a garden in your backyard, or who's to say what's going to happen? There was rumors about gardening, how they were not going to allow people to gardening outside. And if they do, are they going to control the masses by spraying in the air to, mess people's garden up? It's just too much to take at one time. So I'm biting off pieces.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. Shalom, Brother Leonard. Shalom, everyone. I just think that we have to prepare the best that we can. The seasons we cannot control, but our shop can. Months ago, Brother Leonard was playing these videos that was warning us of what was to come, just like they did when the CV came about. It started happening months before that came about, and people just sat around and waited until the last minute instead of preparing ahead of time. So with us knowing what happened when the CV came about, when the news really starts to put things on the forefront, that's when we need to start listening, because they know a whole lot more than what we know. So if it's not the season to plant certain things, just plant what you can, buy what you can, store it up. You just do the best that you can, because we know, okay, this is an example. So it's raining for days, right, on end. So are we going to say, oh, we're not going to plant because a certain amount of rain is coming? Or are you going to trust the Lord of hosts to say, go ahead and plant those seeds, and, they still going to come forth? Or we're going to worry about the seeds being washed away? So I think if we sit around worrying about what we can and cannot do, we're going to be the last ones on the bandwagon.
Okay.
Yeah. Shalom. Yes, sir. Yes. And what I'm doing is in-house gardening. That, to me, is more the safest way to get your plants going. with that. And then they have those UV lights that you can, you know, put on each plant so they can grow. Yeah, that's another way for anyone's listening to do in-home gardening.
Right. We just have to, tweak here and there or whatever. But the best thing is being able to prepare when we can. We know spring is here, and we do a lot of planning then, but now, I mean, so we just do the best that we can do, buy up what we can buy up, store it up, get plenty of water, things that, especially if you got a lot of people in your household, you still got to be able to feed, all of those people. So you're going to have to buy more in bulk than just where there's one or two people in a household.
Okay. Yeah. So that all makes, that's all good information. Makes a lot of sense. But one thing we know we can't do is sit idly by. We gotta do something. Okay.
Yes,
Because we're
sir.
gonna cost you if we don't. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah. So we go to chapter 11 of Jubilees. I'm gonna read it and then I'm gonna break it down and see and get some feedback. So yeah, I read chapter 10 this morning. So I'm in Jubilees chapter 11. I start reading it. Verse 1 says, in the 35th Jubilee, in the third week, in the first week of it, Ru took to himself a wife, and her name was Orah, the daughter of Ur. Right? So keep that in mind. Ur. That's Ur the Chaldeans. That's where Abraham was at. And I told you Abraham was in Ur the Chaldeans because Canaan stole their land when the land was divided back in Genesis chapter 10 and 11. So Noah's son Shem they was all displaced because of what Canaan did. He stole it. That's why it's called the land of Canaan, because he stole it. So anyway, it says, and her name was Orah, the daughter of Ur, the son of Kisid, and she gave birth to a son, and he called his name Saru in the 7th year of the week of in this Jubilee, right? The sons of Noah began a war with each other, to take captive and kill each other and to shed. So what you have to understand about this they didn't tell us about this, but this is what happened, right? This happened before the Tower of Babel was built. Okay. So it says the sons of Noah began a war with each other to take captive and kill each other and shed blood of men on the earth and to eat blood and to build strong cities and the walls and towns, and individuals began to exalt themselves above the nation and to establish kingdoms and to go to war, people against people, nation against nation, city against city, and all began to do evil and to acquire arms, right, and to teach their sons war, and they began to capture cities and to sell male and female slaves. And here we go. We're back at the son of Kadesh, built the city of Arah of the Chaldees, and called his name after his name and the name of his father. So Ur the Chaldeans, this is where they was at, because this guy right here, right? 4. And they made themselves molten images, right? They made themselves molten images. These are our forefathers. And some of them, and they worshiped the idols and the molten images, and they made for themselves, and they began to make graven images, unclean and shady presence, and malevolent and malicious spirits assisted. That because these wicked spirits assisted and seduced them into committing transgressions and uncleanness. Prince Mainstream exerted himself to do all this, and he sent out other spirits which were put under his control to do all manner of wrong and sin, all manner of transgressions, to corrupt and destroy and to shed blood on the earth. So we know right here that Main Street went to the Most High and to the Lord of Hosts and asked when the sons after the flood, the wicked spirits that came from those giants when they died was tormenting Noah's sons. So they went and told Noah about it. Noah prayed to the Lord of Hosts to bind those spirits. So the Lord of Hosts started binding all of them. But Main Street came and said, asked him to give him a 10% of them. Let 10% of them remain with him. So this is what we see right here in verse 5. It says, Prince Mainstreet exalted himself to do all this, and he sent out other spirits, these spirits that the Lord host gave him. And we also know that these same spirits, Mainstreet, these spirits are the ones that came in the night when the Egyptians' firstborn was killed. The Lord host sent them in there, right? So anyway, it says, which put under his control to do all manner of wrong and sin and all manner of transgression, to corrupt and destroy and to shed blood on the earth, right? For this reason, he called the name of Shirub, for everyone turned to do all manner of sin and transgressions. He grew up and dwelt, here you go, he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldeans, near to the father of his wife's mother, and he worshiped idols, and he took himself a wife in the 36th Jubilee, in the 5th week, in the first year of it, and her name was Milcah, and the daughter of Cabor, the daughter of his father's brother. She gave birth, here we go, right here. She gave birth to Nahor. Okay, so you got to go to names, right? And you'll see what's going on. She gave birth to Nahor in the first year of this week, and he grew up and dwelt in Ur of the Chaldeans, and his father taught him, check it out, and his father taught him the sciences of the Chaldeans, to divine and to conjure according to the signs of heaven. In the 37th Jubilee, in the 6th week, in the first year of it, he took to himself a wife, and her name was Ajasica, whatever it is, the daughter of Nestag of the Chaldeans. Now here you go. And she gave birth to Terah, this Noah, this Abraham daddy, right here. So this is why in Jubilees, meaning Jasher, Terah is idol worshiper, because right here, passed down to him. See that? So she gave birth to Terah in the 7th year of this week. Chris Manfield sent ravens and birds to devour the seed that was sown in the land, in order to destroy the land and rob the children of men and their labor before they could plow in the seed. The ravens picked it surface of the ground. This is why he called his name Terror, because ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. The years began to be barren because of the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees, from the trees. It was only with great effort that they could harvest a little fruit from the earth in those days. So we see right here, these wicked ass spirits that came from the giants, they manifested themselves in these birds, ravens. Let that ferment. So it says, in this 39th Jubilee, in the second week, in the first year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his mother's sister. In the 7th year of this week, she gave birth to a son and called his name Abraham. So here go Abraham, by the name of the father of his mother. So we didn't know that. See that? So Abram, by the name of his father, his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And that's where Abraham get his name. Ain't that something? And the child began to understand the errors of the earth. That all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writings. And he was 2 weeks or 2 weeks or years old, and he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols. God with him. So, like I was saying, Negroes ain't got no excuse. Because right here, Abraham could have did the same thing as all his forefathers was doing. But it says that, let's read it, verse 6, 16. The child began to understand the errors of the earth, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writings, right? This the writings of the wicked from the fallen angels. And he was 2 weeks or years old, 14 years old. And he separated himself from his father, that he might not worship idols with him. He began to pray to the creator of all things, that he might spare him from the errors of the children of men, and that his portion should not fall in error, after uncleanness and vileness. The time came for the sowing of the seed in the land, and they all went out together to protect their seeds against the ravens. Check this out, what I talked about this morning, about understanding what a wicked ass spirit is and when it's around, and how to deal with it. So he says, and they went out together to protect their seeds against the ravens. So these wicked ass spirits and these ravens. Abram went out with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years old. That's what I just said. A cloud of ravens came, these wicked ass spirits, to devour the seed. Abraham ran to meet them. See that? Abraham ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, "Descend not, return to the place from where you came," and they began to turn back. Ain't that what I said this morning? You can't try to act like they ain't there. We know what Negroes do, wicked ass Negroes do if you don't address them. They're gonna run over you. So Abraham, let me read it again. A cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. Abraham ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed. And he said, "Descend not." See that? Abraham possessed the power. You got the Lord of hosts with him. You got heaven behind him. So he said, "Descend not, return to the place from where you came," and they began to turn back. So where they come from? Shaul, from hell, like I said. So that's where you send them back to. Okay? Uh, and he caused the clouds of the ravens to turn back that day 70 times. And of all the ravens throughout all the land where Abraham was, there was settled not so much as one. See that? Okay. And all who with him throughout all the lands saw him cry out. See that? And all the ravens turned back, and his name became great in all the land of the Chaldeans. And there came to him this year all those that wished to sow. And he went with them until the time of sowing ceased, and they sowed their land. And in that year, they brought enough grain home to eat, and they were satisfied. In the first year of the 5th week, Abraham taught those who made implements for oxen and the artificers in wood, and they made a vessel above the ground, facing the frame of the plow, in order to put the seed in it. And the seed fell down from it on the shell of the plow, and was hidden in the earth, and they know the ravens. After this manner, they made vessels above the ground on all frames of plows, and they sowed and tilled all this land according to as Abraham commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. See how the Most High worked? He brought Abraham, right? And Abraham, he's 14 years old, like I said, and he ran off all the ravens. It's no different than him and David. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Shalom. What does it mean? What does the vessel mean? Verse 24. And after his manner, they made vessels above the ground and on all the farms of the plows, and they sowed and tilled all the land as Abraham commanded them, and they no longer feared the birds. The last verse in chapter 11. And this is
That's a plow.
vessels.
That's a plow. Invented the
The
plow.
vessels.
The vessels are plows. Abraham
Oh,
invented
okay.
them, and he showed them how to use the plow and then break the dirt up, break the soil up, and the seed fall in the ground, and the soil fall back over it. That way, the birds weren't able to get it. So Abraham invented the plow. He showed them how to do that. So, like I said before, it's a lot in
Thank
that
you.
verse. It's a lot in that verse. So, same thing. It says that he tilled the ground. So, what they tell Abraham, a tiller of the ground. Ain't that what Adam was? Tiller of the
Yes,
ground.
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
he was tiller of the ground. Okay, this hundreds thousand this thousands of years later, Abraham a tiller of the ground. So, like before, today, the same way the spirit of the Most High fell on Abraham, and he turned the same way when he fall today. If the Negro don't turn, then it's a line. When the truth come to him, and the truth come and it's being broken down to you so plainly, and then you don't get it, it's something wrong. It ain't for you to worry about. Okay, that's how that go. It's the DNA. Anybody got anything else before we? Anybody got a scripture they want to pick so we can break it down?
Shalom, Brother Leonard, everyone. Um, I'm going to read Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13 and 14.
Okay.
I always try to pick scriptures that tie into what we talked about during the week, because so much stands out to me every time we go over. So Isaiah 58, verse 13 and 14 is honor the Sabbath. Verse 13, if thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of the Lord had spoken it. That was Isaiah chapter 58, verses 13. Honor the Sabbath.
Yeah, so I said it over and over again, time again, in my journey was all the revelations that I started getting. I noticed it was on the Shabbat, and that's how I started keeping the Shabbat. So then I realized that knowledge and the increase of knowledge and getting right knowledge, it came with keeping the Sabbath, which is it's not your day, it's His day. So what the scripture is telling you, when you veer away from that, you're supposed to you don't expect to remain. If you're in a certain place with the Lord, you don't expect to remain there. You don't fall off, because the knowledge that's when you get the knowledge. When that's like I was explaining, a day of visitation. What do a day of visitation mean? He comes down and he deals with mankind, especially with Israel. So that the Shabbat is a day of visitation. You've been praying, or you've been wrestling with certain scriptures, or wrestling with a certain ideology that you came across, and you can't rightly divide it. Then when the Shabbat comes, you got to be thinking like a Hebrew. You know what I'm saying? And then you realize that those revelations came during the Shabbat. That's what happened to me. So that's how I found out that I was Israelite, and that's how I came to respect the Shabbat. Okay.
Yes, sir. And as we were reading, Brother Leonard, on Thursday we read Jubilees, right? Chapter 2. And so much stood out to me in that chapter with reading it. And then we got out of class. I went over and I read it again. And it's just that in that chapter alone, first of all, the Lord of hosts is not telling us anything that they don't do, because they're in heaven resting too on the Sabbath, right? So I just want to read verse 32. It says, and the creator of all things bless this day, which he had created for a blessing and a sanctification and a glory above all days. So on the Sabbath, we can't go and do normal activities like we normally do. You know, we got to be disciplined when it comes to the Sabbath, and that just really stood out to me as we read that chapter. And I just went and was finding more scriptures on the Sabbath, and I'm like, wow, okay, like it does something to you, like you said, but you got to be thinking like a Hebrew to get that and to even feel a certain type of way about it, and how much they've thrown us off to, you know, be so tied to Sundays. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we different. Jacob's seed, and it tells that in Jubilees chapter 2. If nobody's read that, they should go back and read it again.
Right. That's what David is talking about. That's what Solomon talking about when he says that he's not going to the right hand or to the left. He's going to stay. They learn over time not to go to the left or to the right. They do that. They it's nothing on this planet that can detour them or hurt them, because they in good standards with the Creator. They lined up with heaven. That's what Solomon, like I said, was talking about. That's what Moses was talking about. That's what David was talking about, especially David. So let me answer this question right quick.
I'm sorry.
James Harley, right quick. It says, when you go back and you understand how that Satan is a fallen angel, which is his name is Samuel. He got all different types of names, Lucifer and all that. He came in the garden. He's a fallen angel. He's a tree of knowledge of good and evil. Main Street is a wicked ass spirit that came about when the flood happened, when all the giants was killed. That's how you get a evil spirit. How evil spirits came on the earth was the angels slept with women and got giants. So that spirit ain't the same spirit that the Lord of hosts when he blew the breath of life into Adam. That's a spirit. That spirit came. But when those giants were formed from the human DNA from women and from the angelic DNA mingled, that spirit that's in those giants didn't come from heaven. That's why they bound to the earth. They wicked spirits. Mancy is a wicked ass spirit. They came forth from a giant. And Lucifer, Satan, is an angel, fallen angel. They came down in the garden. They both adversaries. That's because that's what an adversary is. That's what a Satan is, an adversary. But Lucifer is a fallen angel, right? And he was bound, right? Whereas Mancy wasn't bound. Okay. Somebody had something else?
Shalom. What is it safe to say on the Sabbath one can fast, do a fasting?
Yeah. They can fast. I mean, it's all types of fasts. No water. You can say. I mean, no food. Or you like apple. Eat no apples. It's all kind of ways to fast.
So I'm saying like fasting on the Sabbath day, would that be another way of pleasing the Lord of hosts?
Right. Yeah. When you understand what a fast is, like I said, you got spirits. When the giant died, he got a body, which is flesh, mingled flesh, and it's a spirit in that body. They're not separate. So when you deal, the spirit is dealing with the creator. It's you don't see it like words. It's unseen, but it's there, but you can't see it. So when you fast, you put the body under subjection. Flesh, you subdue it. When you subdue the flesh, the spirit up. The flat fasting, and example of that, it was what Daniel did when he looked at the 70 years that Jeremiah had prophesied that they was Israel, that the Israelites were going to be in Babylon for 70 years. But Daniel was Cyrus then died, and Darius is on the throne, and Daniel looking and saying, "Damn, Darius here. You know, he told us to save Nebuchadnezzar, his son, his grandson. That was the 70 years. So when Daniel saw that, he knew that alarmed him. Thinking like a Hebrew, he started fasting. So why did he fast? To bring up, to deal with the Creator, to deal with the Lord of hosts. And then Gabriel came and said, I saw what you was doing the first day you did it, but it took me 2 weeks, 21 days to get here to you because of the wicked spirit. So when you fasting, you sending an SOS up to heaven. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else got anything else before we go? Okay, so I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. Okay. I'll see y'all tomorrow evening. Yeah, we got our Shabbat class. Sabbath, I mean not Shabbat class, my bad. We got our Sunday advanced Bible study at 5 tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. Central Time. So and then anybody that's new on here or whatever, if you call 337-802-0889, you can get the link where you can come into the on the platform. So if you're interested in that, it's 337-802-0889. You're welcome. Shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone. Great class.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who the God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel. And it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.